Welcome back to the video series in which I'm swapping this into my E46. Now, as you're probably wondering, Tyler, why is the engine back apart? Well, this is the reality of some projects. Things do not always go smooth or according to plan. I was having fitment issues with parts for this particular swap, so back apart the engine came. I will explain later. I've been focusing more so on the chassis of the car. So, to gain clearance to fit the engine in here, I had to cut back this wall here and make my own heat shielding. These are pieces of heat shielding from underneath the car. I had spares. I cut it up and made it fit. So we now have a more slimmer heat barrier to protect the brake system components, okay? And also, we have the fuel pressure regulator now relocated and mounted to the firewall cover, and I have the lines rerouted. And once again, everything is heat shielded down here, all the brake lines and everything, because BMW never really intended this side of the car to get overly hot. So also, the cabin tray still does go right in, just like that. Check that out. I actually modified the tray to accommodate space for the FPR down there. We also have a modified front subframe installed, which will get shown later. Steering rack's in. I'm waiting on parts to make a custom steering shaft. That's what I'm currently waiting for. And then this chassis is pretty much ready to accept the S62. Now, back to the engine. It is not only apart because of fitment issues, but because there are things I want to address back in here. I wanted to replace these bolts for the Vanos hubs. These factory 8.8 grade bolts, they have been known to break. They are similar to the S54 engine where they break. So I bought new ones for each camshaft. The replacement ones from BMW are a 10.9 grade, so they updated the bolt to a harder tensile strength. I also want to replace this oil pump chain, which I believed was stretched, once again due to fitment issues of the oil pan for this swap. We will discuss that shortly. My current project is I'm going to reassemble this engine and get it ready to go. And here we are, once again with the engine mostly reassembled. I have the timing spot on once again. I am now going to show you the issues I've been facing with these aftermarket parts. Here we have a custom oil pan for this application. It is from a company in Poland, which we'll discuss later, but I want to show you the headaches that I have been dealing with, okay? So, the current issue is this. Watch the chain. Look at the amount of slack I have in my oil pump chain. That is not good. Now, not only has this been a problem with this company, but this is actually my second oil pan. Allow me to explain. I present to you oil pan number 1. Now, almost immediately, I discovered this. I was missing the power steering pump bracket, which is present on the second oil pan. It's right here. That wasn't a huge deal. That's easy to make and easy enough to have welded on to the old pan, but whatever. I let it go, okay? However, I went to install that pan onto this engine, and none of the freaking holes lined up on the block. Long story short, this is not in the proper position, which in return sort of kicked the oil pan out of the proper lineup position. So I had bolts not lining up. Also, that pan is missing this baffle right here. Okay. Also, on that oil pan, these scavenge pumps did not go in. The studs for these pumps, they were not lined up properly. So overall, this pan was deemed a total flop. I contacted them. They're very quick to build me a new one, which is this one right here, where apparently the owner of the company or the head engineer sat with the welder and watched him build this one. All the measurements were proper on paper. I still had to drill out my scavenge pumps. See those holes? I still had to drill those out just to fit these in here. Okay. Now I'm left with a very loose oil pump chain. I did some measuring, and the surface in which the oil pump rests on is 3 millimeters lower than that pan. With all the problems that this pan had, the oil pump chain slack was not one of them. Had near perfect chain tension. I go to a pan that has everything going for it, everything correct. I put the damn oil pump in, and the chain is loose. out of all things to be wrong with it, that's the issue? Come on. As you can see down here, this is actually gasket material that I have wedged between the pump and the oil pan surface. I have it done to both sides. That would have been an easy solution, to shim the oil pump up with gasket material. But then guess what? These scavenge pumps will no longer line up whenever you do that. So, either I now have to shim the whole pan off of the block to get tension back, or I figure something else out, or third option, I just go dry sump. However, at the moment, I do not have money to afford a dry sump system. So yes, this is the reality of some projects. I know this is the wonderful mystical land of YouTube, but not all of us are made of money. Things happen, issues are made. I wouldn't be so mad about this if they were a US-based company. But them being in Poland, I am waiting for a month, up to a month, for each pan, okay? This is holding back this project immensely. I will say that the customer service has quite literally been the best that I've ever experienced. But that does not excuse you for making faulty products. Another issue with that first oil pan, this oil pump, I could barely get to go in there. I had to basically pound it in because they had the clearances here wrong for the scavenge pumps and everything. Another reason why I'm so irritated is because I literally tore this engine back apart just to replace this oil pump chain because I thought it was stretched. But it wasn't. It was not stretched anywhere near excessive. Brand new chain. And it has that much slop. It's a lot of play. Look at that. Can you see that down in there? That is ridiculous. Even Mr. Cybul himself said, yes, he's 98% sure, something like that, that it's a problem on my end, that the chain is stretched or something. Yeah, there's your proof. It is not. I have your oil pan mounted with gasket underneath it, and it's still that loose. Come on. So I discovered the problem. You see this surface down here? That is where the oil pump mounts. Now I noticed whenever I tighten this bolt that went right here, I lost chain tension. So that told me that this surface is not straight, and I was correct. We have a 2mm dip in the surface height from the bottom of the pan to the top of that, okay? So the very front of that to the pan surface is roughly, let me get a good spot, 27mm, almost 28, but it's 27. We go to the back part here, measure its height, and it jumps up to 29mm. You see that? That is causing my oil pump to sit not level, drooping in the front, or it's drooping on the sprocket side. That's how I'm losing tension. Out of curiosity, I went to the opposite side, and there's even more deviation in the surface. Look at that. 30mm. That's approximately a 3mm. Look at this. Jesus, yeah. That is my issue. So now we discovered that this issue is clearly due to incompetence once again with this product they offer. What would you guys do? Would you guys flip out, demand a refund, or ask for a third pan? But then we also must think, is there a possible solution here? How am I supposed to level out a 2mm dip on a flat surface which is responsible for oil pressure to your engine? I could try the gasket material again, but there's still going to be that slope. I got to think of something, or I demand a third pan. Because these parts are welded, there's really no room for adjustability there. I'm going to think of a solution and or replacement. But until then, I'm going to keep working on the chassis of the car, I feel, and hopefully make some progress there. I'll see you guys in the next video. Catch you later.